At the lesson 5, we have a topic about juvenile delinquency and victimology. So, juvenile delinquency refers to any action, course of conduct that deviates from acts approved by the majority of people. It is a description of those acts that do not conform to the accepted rules, norms, and norms of the society. It is a general term for any misconduct or misbehavior that is tantamount to felony or offense. It is however distinct from crime in the sense that the former may be in form of violation of law, ordinance, or rule, but it is punishable only by a small fine or short term, imprisonment or both. Legally speaking, delinquency means the failure to perform an act required by law or non-performance of duty or obligation that is mandated by existing law or rule. We also have juvenile crime. It denotes various offenses committed by children or youths under the age of 18. Such acts are sometimes referred to as juvenile delinquency. So, juvenile delinquency is used to describe a large number of disapproved behavior of children or youth. Acts of juvenile delinquency include violation of law, such as those defined by the Juvenile Code and laws. While juvenile refers to a person of tender year, a minor, a youth, or those who are not emancipated by law, those who are below the age of majority. It refers to the person below 18 years of age or those but are unable to take care of themselves from abuse, neglect, cruelty, exploitation, or discrimination because of physical or mental disability or condition. So the RA 6809, an act lowering the age of majority from 21 to 18 and amending such purpose, E2209, approved on December 13, 1989. We also have the status offense. It is an act or omission which committed by an adult may not be considered punishable but which are generally considered wrong once committed by a minor. Example of this is the unreasonable absenteeism from school, curfew violation, loitering, running away from home without justifiable cause, or use of profane language. There are also 5 stages of delinquency: emergence, exploration, explosion, conflagration, and outburst. I also learned the different factors which may lead to juvenile delinquency. These are the faulty development of child, lack of parental guidance, parental rejection, broken homes, lack of love, unfair treatment, too harsh discipline by either or both of the parents, too lenient discipline by either or both of the parents, and parents' indifference to their child. Prevention of juvenile delinquency. So we have the role of different sectors. First is the family. Family shall be responsible for the primary nurturing and rearing of children, which is critical in delinquency prevention. Next is the educational institution. They shall work together with families, community organization, and agencies in the prevention of juvenile delinquency and in the rehabilitation and reintegration of child in conflict with the law. Last is the mass media. They must play an active role in the promotion of child rights and delinquency prevention by the relaying consistent messages through a balanced approach. We also have many Philippine laws affecting children. First is the PD 798 or the Transi Law, the RA 6809 lowering the age of majority from 21 to 18 years old, RA 7658 prohibiting the employment of children below 15 years of age in public or private undertakings. RA 8552, the Domestic and Adoption Act of 1998 enacted. RA 8043, the Inter-Country Adoption Act. RA 8369, Family Courts Act of 1997. RA 9255, Law of the Use of Father's Surname of Illegitimate Children. And we have also many more Philippines law regarding the child protection. Another topic under this lesson is the victimology. Victimology is the study of victims and their patterns of victimization. From this perspective, the question is not why certain individuals or groups engage in criminal behavior. Instead, the emphasis is on explaining why certain people or groups experience victimization at certain times and in certain places. Similarly, research on criminal justice has focused on how offenders are proceed through the criminal justice system. Victimologists, in contrast, examine the dynamics, the demographic of criminal victimization like criminal offending, criminal victimization is not randomly distributed among the populace. Patterns of victimization show a high degree of consistency with respect to where and when they occur and who is victimized. Violent crime rates under the demographic of criminal victimization. Individuals between the ages of 12 and 24 have the greatest chance of becoming the victims of crime, especially for violent crimes. It is also found out that for every offense except sexual assault or rape and simple assault, men have higher victimization rates than women. While female most often are victimized by someone they know. The rational phenomenon is also known as the intimate victimization. So we have situational characteristic of victimization. Victimization is most likely to occur in places where there is high density of high-risk social groups. Suburban and rural residents were victimized at a similar rates. Theoretical explanations for victimization. National data support the observation that crime victimization is not random. Scholars who study victimization construct theories to explain why some people are victims and others are not. The most prominent explanation as to the cause of victimization are victim precipitation theories and lifestyle theories of victimization. Victim precipitation theories. These theories are based on the concept that victims themselves precipitate, contribute to provoke, or actually cause the outcome. These theories assume that some crimes, especially violent crimes, are interaction or transaction between the victims and the offenders. So we have three phases of victim precipitation. First is the victim contribution. It refers to a person action or lack of action that makes them victimization more likely. Second is the victim proneness. This implies that some individuals or group have a quality that makes them more likely to become victims of crime. And the last one is the victim of provocation theory. It suggests that the victim is primary cause of his or her victimization. The lifestyle theories of victimization. This theory seeks to explain why victimization can differ in quantity but remain the same in quality. In cities being researched, it was found that youths were at much greater risk of victimization than older persons, and men had substantially higher rates of victimization than women. The researcher found that the following conditions were met. The victim and offender had the opportunity to come in contact with one another, and there was some dispute between the two. Theory of personal victimization. Lifestyle stands at the centerpiece of theory of personal victimization because it is a pattern routines of persons' everyday activities that predict the chances of exposure to high-risk situation. So also we have the differential association. It refers to the concept that people have associate regularly with other engaged in unlawful behavior are more likely to be victimized because of their increased exposure to high-risk situation and environments. Next is the routine activities theory. This theory of victimization focuses on the context of crime in the term of opportunities for victimization. So in the 1979, Lawrence Cohen and Marcus Felson developed an approach for analyzing changes in the level of crime over time known as routine activities theory. Routine activities theories assume that all humans are motivated by desire to have things that give them pleasure or benefit and to avoid those things and situations that inflict pain. Next is the routine activities approach. Routine activities approach to crime is limited to an explanation for predatory crime. Cohen and Felson define predatory crime as an act involving direct physical contact between at least one offender and at least one person or object which that offender attempts to take or damage. Predatory victimization depends on the interaction of the three variables in social situation. First is the presence of at least one likely offender. Second is the presence of at least one suitable target. And the last one is the absence of capable guardians who might prevent the crime. Rational choice theory of crime. Rational choice theory is based on the fundamental belief that human behavior is directed toward things that bring pleasure or benefit or that minimize painful and pleasant experiences. If rational choice theories are correct, altering the balance cost and benefits for the likely offenders can reduce victimization. One way to do is the so-called target hardening. Target hardening is the foundation for many popular crime reduction programs. Crime prevention programs. such as neighborhood watch program to increase the level of lighting in streets and neighborhoods, and surveillance cameras are based on the assumption that these changes will cause the potential criminal to evaluate the risk of committing a crime in this target hardened environment. And we have different general classes of victim. This is according to Hans von Hettig. First is the young. They are the weak by virtue of age and immaturity. Second is the female. They are often less physically powerful and easily dominated by males. Third is the old. The incapable of physical defense and the common object of confidence scheme. Fourth is the mentally defective. Those who are unable to think clearly. Fifth is the immigrant. They are the one who is unsure of the rules of conduct in the surrounding society. And the last one is the minorities. They are the racial prejudice may lead to victimization or unequal by the agency of justice. And lastly, we have the psychological types of victims. First is the depressed. These are the submissive by virtue of emotional condition. Second is the acquisitive or greedy. These are the value or act wanting more propels such individuals into victimization. Third is the wanton or overly sensual, those ruled by passion and thoughtlessly seeking pleasure. Fourth is the lonesome, similar to acquisitive type of victim by virtue of wanting companionship or affection. Fifth is the heartbroken, those emotionally disturbed by virtue of heartaches and pains. And last is the tormentor. This is the type of victim who asks for it. It is often from his own family or friends. So, after learning this lesson 5, the juvenile delinquency and the victimology, I am now able to comprehend the definition, nature, and characteristic of juvenile delinquency, and I now able to recognize and explain the factors causing juvenile delinquency. I also now understand the law related to control and prevention of juvenile delinquency. And also, I can now define the victimology and identify the victim's participatory factors in victimization. And I also now discovered the different types of victims.